shouldn't even know it's crypto. Don't even talk about crypto. What value does something bring them? So I go to a bank to borrow money. Do I know all of the systems underneath? No. And I don't quite frankly care. They don't care. We're trying to force a religion down their throats, and we sound like gospel speakers trying to convert people into religion.
Hey, welcome back to the Talking Intentionally podcast. Today we're speaking with Connor from Enso. Enso is a huge name in the world of solvers, so I hope you enjoy this podcast and find it informative. As always, if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments or ping me on Twitter and let me know. Take care. Hey, Connor, thank you so much for making the time to speak with us. Would love to, just start by talking a little bit about, who you are, where where you came from, and like what Enso is.
Sure, thank you for having me today. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm Connor Howe, one of the co-founders of Enso. I've been building full-time on Ethereum since 2016. So yeah, 9 years now. Feels like 3 years, and a lot has changed in the ecosystem throughout these 9 years. Let's put it that way. Enso is a company that's been around for 3+ years. We pivoted our company twice to be able to get to where we are, and we're showing most likely, I would say, some early signs of product market fit. This week we've enabled over $3.1 billion to be settled on chain, all powered by Enso shortcuts.
So do you mind talking a little bit about like the space that you're in? Obviously Axel is all about agents, but in crypto we kind of view agents as intents and solvers. So do you mind talking about how Enso fits in that paradigm?
Yeah, for sure. So kind of how we got to where we are, kind of the problem that we're solving. It's a problem that we had ourselves. So we started off by building a social trading product. We wanted to enable people to monetize their knowledge of generating yield and also like buying tokens. So like I could create a strategy, send it to friends, send it to you. If you generate profit, I'll take a percentage off of this. Whilst building that, we integrated, I think, over 12 or 15 DeFi protocols. And that took us a while to do that. And we spent over $500,000 just on audits alone for these. We spent over 500,000 just on the audits before we'd even tested if this product works. And then we kind of pivoted and saying, hey, we need to build this infrastructure underneath that allows us to integrate every single smart contract that lives on chain, every single DeFi protocol really quickly, easily, and safely for our own needs, which was a DeFi super app. When we launched that application, we actually found very artificial interactions from users using our product. Clearly, we're just airdrop farmers that had no intention of using a real product. They just wanted free money. But by launching that, we had five, six other projects reach out to us and say, hey, how the hell did you integrate 50 DeFi protocols on day one? Like it's unheard of. It kind of still is for these DeFi super apps unless you're using it. So we simply spun up an API on top of our infrastructure 2 weeks later. And what Enso is as of today is your shortcut to building on chain. So we abstract all of the logic of how to embed DeFi protocols, how to embed on-chain actions, how to fetch data from on-chain, how to fetch off-chain data such as APY, TVL balances, and so forth. So you can envision this as just a wrapper around everything that lives on chain. So you can integrate just Enso, you get access to all the on-chain ecosystem, and that across all these different blockchain frameworks. It's been a journey to get to where we are as of today. It's used by over 75 plus projects in production, most notably such as like Infinex. We also have people like Berachain, Li-Fi, asset management tools, AI tooling. We have intent networks such as CowSwap. We have solvers using us. And for us, kind of the relationship of the Enso shortcut engine is that it powers many different primitives. So one of these is the intent ecosystem.
Would love to learn a little bit more about how you guys, power specifically the intent ecosystem, and do you guys do solving? Would love to just hear you elaborate a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when you really break it down, intents are an expression of an outcome that you want. So I have A and I want B, C, and D, and that's what intent is. That's all it is a request. It's a job bulletin board. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it's saying, I have a Red Bull can and I want a phone, right? You're saying, I'll do that trade. But if nobody is willing to actually make that trade, then it's completely useless. And this is what people called solvers come into play, or resolvers, fillers, transmitters, blah, 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 right? Everyone loves to create fancy names for all different things. And the problem has been shifted completely, saying that these God mode individuals will figure it all out, right? And that's what's happening, right? You have these intent networks saying we'll do generalized intents for everything, right? And you're like, yeah, but really, what's how are you going to do that? Solvers will figure out. There's only maybe 10 solvers. How are they going to figure out? Oh, those solvers only do swaps. Okay, so the problem has been shifted to other people. And kind of what Enso's done now is created this shared engines collaborative ecosystem where anyone can come along and say, here's how you interact with protocol X, right? So we create a shared map, a shared graph of all the different state living across all the different blockchain frameworks, so that once an intent request is being made to Enso or to an intent network such as CowSwap that uses Enso, then Enso generates these things, what we call shortcuts, that are basically just combinations of different actions on chain to then solve this intent. We also run solvers ourselves on top of our own infrastructure. Why? Because it's a good revenue source, gives more validation of the brand to trust. So it's CowSwap, Aperture, Royco. There's a number, Brink, One Balance, Li-Fi, if you call it an intent network. Yeah, we're the engine underneath it that empowers this.
So, our first product, Autopilot, offers a ton of interesting features like, specifically autonomous DeFi actions, generating yield, auto rebalancing, stop losses, all pretty important things, I think, that are pretty common in traditional finance, where my background is, but not super, super common, at least in one product in crypto. How do solvers execute this? Like, what exactly goes on behind the scenes when intents or requests are put in and solvers are, given that opportunity to solve them?
It's a great question, and I think Autopilot's a great product. One of our initial second product ideas was to do automation. I think this whole industry, even today, is missing automation tooling. Do people really want to manually go and manage all of this themselves? No, people, quite frankly, just want to make money, sit and forget, right? That's kind of why they put the money in the bank, then a bank manages it. I'm not relating you to a bank here, but similar thesis of automating it. What happens is we get a request, so we'll get a couple million requests per day. They'll say, I have an A and I want B, C, and D, right? We need to first understand what A is. So is it a token, right? And then to go to B, C, and D, is B an NFT? Is C another token? Is D a DeFi position, right? Then what we've got in the background, every solver team, every people that are doing these kind of combinations of different on-chain actions, you're creating like nodes in a graph. You can envision these as like train stops. So I live in Zurich. Let's say I want to go to Bern. You're going to stop in different places to be able to get there. That one stop is a relationship. So I can put token A into token B, and token B can get token C and D, right? So you kind of see where this graph can start. So you're trying to, in a very fast and efficient manner, map this whole ecosystem to create the most efficient Google Maps or train route from A all to B, C, D. Once you've kind of found that route, you will also have maybe a couple other thousand routes. So now you need to start simulating. Now you see what is the most efficient one about all of them. And it gets a very complex issue. We've got an individual on the Enso team, Robin. He done a PhD in mathematics at ETH University, like one of the top universities in the world. This is a really complex problem because once you can go from A to B, B can then go maybe into hundreds of different states. Those other 100 states can maybe go into another 1,000 states, right? So you're basically trying to understand the whole universe of blockchain in a matter of like milliseconds to be able to give the best efficient route. So let's say now you've got like the best one, you know that this is going to be the most best amount out for gas efficiency. the better solver teams of solving intents, and especially inside of Enso shortcuts, we will never respond up until we give, until we've simulated. So by simulation, what I say is we take the current state of mainnet, for example, we create a fork, a replica of this. We then run the call data on that to see if it will pass what the amounts out the gas, not just based on a database of like estimations, but like the real fact. At that point, then we'll pass it off. That's for people executing themselves. In terms of for us executing, you've got to manage private keys. You've got to manage them safely. You've got to, sniff. I call it sniffing, but it's not really sniffing. You got to listen into the mempool to see what other transactions are coming. You also need to do some prediction analysis of if I'm doing a large trade of 10 million in this pool, what's the other pools going to react to this? As there going to be arbitrageurs that come in? You've also got to account for slippage of setting this on chain, because you could get sandwiched. Some MEV guys are really, really sophisticated here. We saw it the other day happen to us as well.
It's crazy what happened with MEV. Um, are you allowed to
Yeah,
say?
it's not really. I mean, it's just more like they astonish me every day because you ship something and then like 2 hours you see a contract deployed that then is trying to interact with your contract and you're like, wow, you're fast. Like you've got full on fuzzing, analytics back in the background. You've got Telegram bots alerting you. So you're getting alerted, boom, maybe we could make funds from this newly deployed contract. Then they're building contracts to then wrap it to then Samras will front run. It's I must say, guys are terminally online.
Well, kind of transitioning into kind of where Axel views the world. Obviously, Autopilot is our first product. But down the line, we see a world where, generalized intents can exist and will, potentially create like almost a new internet, an active internet where, tasks are being done for you. Lots of people like, I think a lot of people in the agent world definitely see this. You had OpenAI, and Perplexity, I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, released products in the agent space. But what are your thoughts about solvers outside the world of finance or like decentralized finance? What are the steps you think, if this reality can happen, are needed to happen in order for it to, I guess, exist?
So I agree. I done a presentation at DAppCon last year and I made a big bet, which was all developer interactions going forward will be intent based. Um, whether any on-chain interaction is financial, non-financial, could be a brand new primitive that we don't even conceive just yet, that is being launched tomorrow, that can be used throughout intents. A developer journey for integrating everything manually themselves and even a user using these products, you shouldn't need to care about all the underlying technology, right? It's like if you go and use Instagram, you don't care if you use Kubernetes, AWS, or cloud. Like you just want to doom scroll, right? It's like you want to do this interaction on chain, then you should just be able to do it. You shouldn't care about all the underlying technology. So to be able to get there, I would say we are the first movers inside of this. We are the first intent team, if you want to call us that, that has enabled interactions that are not just swaps. We were the first doing that. We're the leading one with inside of that. We're now doing any arbitrary action on chain. So kind of if there's a new protocol that's a new primitive that's being released, then it's also supported through Enso. We're also now doing NFTs and so forth, right? So we're kind of pushing that forward to get other people to do this. We spoke about this actually in Bangkok at DevCon. It's challenging because a lot of solver teams are similar to MEV, quite fast money, right? They just want to get it done. They want to generate profit, and continue that way. And it also pumps up the numbers. Number goes up, right? If your focus kind of on us, for getting that 3.1 billion this week, that's all DeFi actions. It's combining stuff together. That is a completely different use case of intents. The other solver teams didn't want to take that big risk of even saying, "Hey, I could lose out on." 2 billion volume over the course of, let's say, 3 months, or I take a high conviction bet, which we done to get 3.1 billion in 1 week, right? So I think now that people like us have kind of started this journey, other people will get there. You also could, in theory, have isolated action types. I mean, again, I'm shilling Enso, but again, the reason why I'm shilling Enso is because we have thought about this problem a lot and we kind of created a whole system around this. You can't expect solver teams to do all of it, right? Some people are very good, smart, very smart people just at optimizing and swapping. Some people are really good at RFQs. Some people are very good at holding their own inventory. Someone's really good at DeFi. But you can't do all of it, right? It's not really how the world works, right? If you go and buy a Red Bull can, Red Bull's sourcing ingredients from like thousands of different places to even for the can itself. What we're saying is a solver can source all of this, make all of it themselves and do all of it, which doesn't fundamentally make sense. So the way that we can move forward into this non-just financial is an open engine, which is called Enso, that anyone can come along and add how to interact with the protocol on chain to create this like shared graph of all these different interactions. And then Enso you could see is a super solver, right? The super solver engine, it can solve many different types of intents, like generalized intents. But I fundamentally view that all developer interactions going forward will be powered by Enso shortcuts and intents.
Well, it wouldn't be a podcast if we weren't chilling, ourselves and each other. So, but the good thing is when you create good products, it makes sense too. Final question. I think this is like, zooming out altogether. I think this is obviously the big question with crypto. DeFi is a huge thing, and it's totally how Axel views the world. DeFi is a huge thing. You can create products that are like pretty useful. We think Autopilot's a pretty useful tool. The issue is, we went outside our office like last week and we started speaking with people about crypto. People had like most people weren't even comfortable buying a Bitcoin, right? Like or buying Bitcoin in general, still thought Bitcoin was a scam. I think overarchingly, like I think the world of crypto, specifically crypto Twitter, is so indexed on protocols and things like that. But there still exists a massive gap in terms of trust. How do you guys view bridging this gap of trust between the general public and pretty useful things? In some ways free money with yield, right? How do you bridge that gap to get people to take advantage of such, advantages that crypto provides?
It's like you're asking me the meaning of life. Contrarian view here. Um, they shouldn't even know it's crypto. Don't even talk about crypto. What value does something bring them? So I go to a bank to borrow money. Do I know all of the systems underneath? No. And I don't quite frankly care. They don't care. We're trying to force a religion down their throats, and we sound like gospel speakers trying to convert people into religion. What we should say is here's what the benefits it can bring you, i.e., you can generate money. Nice. If they ask how's that's done, you can share. But if we start with crypto at the beginning, it's not going to convert people. Sure, we can do a lot of PR, we can do a lot of conversions of the benefits of it and so forth. But I think one thing we've got wrong in this industry, really, really wrong, is, and I see it from founders in the space, a lot of people want to sound smarter than what they are. And crypto sounds smart, but it's really not. Not that smart. It's useful, but it's once you wrap your head around it, it's quite simple at the end of the day, right? Um, so the reality is Kubernetes, AWS, Google Cloud, do we go up and say to them, hey, do you want to use AWS and Google Cloud? And they go, why? Oh, because it's distributed infrastructure. I don't give a fuck. What product can I use on top of AWS and Google Cloud? The exact same for crypto. We focus too much on technology and not enough about what that product can do for the people. So, we done this social trading product. We done everything on chain. I mean, everything. Um, Looking back, what I would have changed, I wouldn't have changed the journey at all, but one thing I would have done differently is I would have had custody, literal custody for users to go with a Google account or whatever Apple ID, sign up and just use the platform. They don't care if it's non-custodial. It's a risk that people take every single day, such as like data on, social media applications, banking as well. These are acceptable risks for convenience for the human being. Like if we're optimizing on really nitty-gritty details that fundamentally people don't care about, then nobody's gonna use the product. We're all passionate about a certain thesis and philosophical beliefs pretty much. But we need to understand we're like a 0.0001% of the whole supply of the world. And we need to identify we're not building it for us, we're building it for other people to use. So again, don't mention crypto, just mention what the product can bring and the value.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you. I think that the phrase left curve it, I think we've just been pounding in our head constantly because it's so easy to get caught up in, especially I think this intense solver space because it is a little bit more frontier. Honestly, fancy words, like just words that people like immediately turns them off. But I think
This is why we done shortcuts, man. We were
yeah,
like one of the thought leaders in intents, and we realized like no matter how many times we explained it, it's just so my language is just so
boring.
vague, not boring. It's also a bit like confusing. Like, yeah,
Just weird, right? Like it's a weird word for normal people. Yeah.
it's
Um,
even a weird word for me. Like, sure intention and whatnot, but then it's like, hey, am I going in Copenhagen and doing some like
yeah.
ayahuasca retreats? It's just like it's not relatable.
It's kind of like index. I think it's one of those words where it has like a standard phrase that exists in like the English language, but it also in the world of technology has a very specific phrase. And I think that's why it's a little weird for like probably mass adoption. We just pitched it to some pretty like normal people yesterday, and very much so the reaction was like, what the hell is this? But then so that's why I think the phrase agent makes it a little bit like easier to like conceptualize, but I think overarchingly, crypto's branding problem, not like a new novel idea that we're hitting on right now. But thank you so much for making the time, Connor. Any final remarks?
Yes, first of all, thanks for having me and thanks for dealing with my personal opinions. That's always fun. And yeah, if anyone's listening that wants to build on-chain applications really easily, I'm at Enso's your go-to tool. We went through the journey of building two B2C customer-facing products ourselves. We saw the pain, and we ate sand for 3 years, literally, um, to be able to ship what we have today. So if you want a tool that allows you to build on-chain apps very quickly and easily, just reach out.
Perfect. Thanks for your time, Connor. Be well.